focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks. Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and as always, I'm your host, bringing you some of the greatest minds in the world. We're talking business, we're talking health and wealth and everything in between. And I'm just excited today. We have a really, really special guest all the way from Australia. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning for her right now. She is a corporate headhunter, but also what's kind of cool about this, awesome lady is that she's a psychic card reader and a life coach. And her name is Kasey Phoenix, and she's all the way from Australia. So Kasey, what's card reading all about? What is that all about?
So it's funny because a lot of people, when they first hear about psychic mediums, they actually are not familiar with the whole process, and they, it's just got like a specific taboo on it. A lot of people, when they first found out that I was into psychic mediumship and reading cards, they actually didn't really know what it was. But essentially, on a fundamental background of what it is, it's really just tapping into someone's subconscious on an intuitive level. So it's very similar to the promptings that you get in psychology when you go to a hypnotherapist or a psychologist, where they show you certain pictures and they ask you, what do you see in the picture? So it's very similar to that, because it prompts certain aspects of your subconscious to come out. So when I read cards for my particular clients, all I'm doing is tapping into certain parts of their subconscious that have not been emerged and bringing it out on the table. So that's pretty much what it is in a nutshell. So,
I love that. And you know me, I mean, to the extent that, I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe in a lot of what the subconscious does and what it's capable of. It's just, it's mind blowing what you can create by attraction. We're like magnets, right? And so it's really, really cool what you're doing. And so like, seriously, when people say, what do you say if people, when people say, well, it's just a card, it's just a piece of paper, what, like, how do you, refute that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, everything that is created in our reality now, right, it comes from somewhere. It comes from the mind, it comes from the subconscious mind. So, to say that it's just a card, to say that it's just a card, I could just say, okay, this is just a computer, this is just a table. It's all just material things that have manifested out of something that was not tangible. So, like when people say, like they're not really into this mumbo jumbo psychic stuff, but what it's actually doing, it's tapping into parts of your subconscious and emerging it and bringing it to awareness. So a lot of the times when I have meetings and sessions with a lot of my clients, I'll be tapping into parts of their subconscious that they don't even know until I emerge it. And they're like, oh, well, actually, yeah, that was on my mind. And that's how we can unravel things in terms of, the subconscious mind, which I am a very big fan of, because I've got my master's in psychology, and I do, I do a lot of research in that realm too, with the likes of Carl Jung, and Sigmund Freud. They talk a lot about like the subconscious mind, and that is really like the pinnacle of the foundation of humanity, right? Like everything that's created in the reality that we live in the 3D world, it comes from the subconscious mind. So I think it's just about educating people really like about what the foundations of it is, and that there's actually a science behind it, right?
Good stuff. Good stuff. And we're going to tap more into that today. I'm actually excited about, I've been looking forward to this for a long, long time, which, by the way, happy birthday to you. It is your birthday today. So happy birthday. And so look, I always love to go kind of a little bit deep into people's past. And I want to know, where were you born originally? Where are you from? And, what were your parents like? What did your parents do?
Yeah, so I'm born and bred in Australia. So I was born in Sydney, Australia, which is the capital. Oh, well, actually, the capital is Canberra. But so I was born in Australia, born from immigrant parents. My parents are of Filipino, Chinese, and Spanish descent. So my papa, like on my dad, his side, they came from Philippines, but they're originally Hispanic, so they're from Spain. He moved here when he was about 17, and my mother, she's Filipino Chinese, and she came here on a visa. There was a war in Philippines in the 1980s, and she came here for a holiday, and she met my dad. So I essentially was a visa baby. So they had like a little rendezvous honeymoon period and a whirlwind wedding, and here I am.
And
So
and what
yeah.
did your parents do for a living?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, so my dad, from my dad's side, they're very family oriented, but they come from a very religious background. So I was born in a very devout Catholic upbringing and family. My oldest auntie is a nun. My dad is one of 9 children. Yeah, so she's a nun. She served at the Vatican and stuff like that. Very, very religious. Um, and yeah, like, but my dad, he's a musician, but he never really realized his dreams. And, he was just really a factory worker. So I came from a very humble family background. But on my mother's
Was,
side,
was it was it humble beginnings too? I mean, like growing up
yeah,
as a child. I mean, were
yeah,
what were what
yeah.
were things like? I mean,
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because my parents, they come from 2 very separate socioeconomic backgrounds. My dad was, from working class background. He's a truck driver, factory worker. My mother, on the other hand, she grew up in a very affluent family. As you know, in Philippines, it's very segregated. The social classes, it's either you're really rich or you're really poor. My grandfather on my mom's side, he was big in import exporting. He was like the chief in Philippines, and my grandmother, she was a writer. So hence the reason why I love writing. And my mother, though, she has. It's funny because I always said I didn't want to become her, but my mom has a background in psychology, so she's very, very intelligent, highly intelligent. Me and all of my siblings, we are all psychology graduates. My sister has graduated from Melbourne Uni. And I graduated with a double degree in psychology from UNSW, which is like equivalent to, I don't know, Harvard or something like that. It's like one of the top unis here. And I finished my master's as well in psychology. So we come from a family of, highly, I guess, high academic achievers on my mum's side. But it's funny because on my dad's side, it's very, very different. So there was always kind of that struggle with, my dad's very like, happy-go-lucky. He loves to party. He loves family gatherings, and it's, like it's very different. And then my mum was always like, very like, you have to be studying and stuff all the time. So it was really hard for me growing up, because I was influenced a lot by both of my parents, but it was always like a tug of war.
so was it like, were you raised rich or poor or middle class? Like,
Yeah,
where were you in that?
yeah. So because my family, like both my parents migrated here in Australia, we don't come, I'm not a trust fund baby. I don't come from wealth. We pretty much came from working class. My mum moved here, and they pretty much left everything that they knew at the height of the war in Philippines. So, they pretty much had to start again. And it was really sad for my mum because she's so academically driven, and she was actually a recruiter for the biggest bank in Philippines, for Bank of Philippines. She was a headhunter too. So, but yeah, when she migrated here, she was just factory worker. She had to start from the bottom of the barrel. And she was so in love with my dad. She gave up everything. And, like she chose that life with him. And but essentially my mum worked her way into the banks. She worked for corporate giants, GE Finance, and also she worked for ANZ, which is one of the big 4 banks here. So she became very well accomplished in her career. And I guess that's kind of led to what has amalgamated into part of my profession now, as a corporate headhunter for the major banks and major financial institutions in Australia. So I recruit for the biggest banks in Australia, the biggest investment firms, broker firms, and stuff like that. And it's funny because I came into this role because the headhunter who headhunted my mum recruited me. Yeah. So, and then he said, you know, why don't you try your luck at headhunting? So it's funny how that whole kind of transpired. Yeah.
And so growing up, were you a good kid? Were you a bad kid? What kind of kid were you?
I would say I was a parent's worst nightmare. In short. So, but the thing is, I was highly intellectual. I would say I was gifted at a young age, and I was very accelerated. I mean, I started school earlier than others. I was 4. I started reading and everything like that when I was I was very advanced for my age, and I was highly intellectual, and everyone kind of knew that. Like, I was always kind of seen as the gifted child. But then on the other spectrum, because my parents divorced at such a young age, and this is where the whole nature versus nurture thing kind of comes into play, right? So even though I was like genetically gifted with my academics, and I mean, like being intellectual and, you know, like being smart and stuff like that, because of my environmental upbringing and because my parents separated at a young age, I witnessed a lot of domestic violence and, you know, like a lot of things like that at a very young age. It kind of molded me and shaped me into like a juvenile delinquent. So yeah, so my parents,
So
they
what
separated.
what kind of bad thing? I mean, you just seem like such a nice, you know, person. I'm like, what kind of bad things did you get into as a young
As a
kid,
child.
teenager, or as a child? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess because, you know, like, sorry, I'm trying to turn off my bloody alarm. It keeps on going off. I'm like, I'm already awake. um, yeah, so because my parents separated at a very young age, you know, and I guess there was no level of awareness, I guess, from my parents' part in terms of, you know, like how to kind of navigate the whole divorce situation. My mom was very hell bent on just being, she was very much in survival mode. You know, she became a single mom overnight. She was just trying to put food on the table. She didn't know any better, you know. And at that time, she had like met a new partner, which was my stepfather. She met him at work, so they were working together in the bank. And I guess part of it was because she was so hell bent on trying to recreate a new life and build a new family, that I kind of was, you know, like I wasn't monitored properly and given the attention that I needed. So I had to grow up very fast on my own very soon. And I kind of had to navigate this world on my own accord, I guess. And yeah, I did a lot of things at a young age, but I don't think it was out of spite. It was really just because I just wanted freedom at a young age. I was very rebellious, got kicked out of 3 high schools. I was I was selling weed when I was like 14 because I just wanted to make money. And we were just so poor. Like, we were living in what's equivalent to the Bronx in New York, you know. Like, I would walk outside my apartment, our apartment complex, and there'd be people like kind of shooting up and, you know, ODing and stuff like that. That's kind of the world that I came from. And that was normal to us. And at a very young age, I just knew I just wanted to get out. So I did what I needed to do. I had to hustle at a young age. Um, I had a lot of girlfriends that like looked up to me in high school. And I used to just tell them, hey, look, it's easy to make money. You just do this and that, you know, like, and I would say I was very entrepreneurial at a young age, but like, you know, I just taught them tricks of the trade in terms of, instead of, you know, like getting $50 pocket money, like, you do this and, you know, like, you can make more money.
So
and
you were teaching closing skills at
yes,
a very young age.
yes, exactly, yeah. You know, and I was pretty much I used to hang around a lot of older kids, and I was like, well, what they do is pretty easy, and they make a lot of money doing it, like bootlegging and stuff. They used to sell, like they used to steal stuff from the markets, from the department stores and sell it on the street. And I was like, that looks easy. I want to do that. I like nice clothes. I like nice things. And I came from a very, very humble background, whereas like it was paycheck to paycheck. Like even there was some times where like we didn't even know whether, my mom used to cry a lot, like I used to watch her crying a lot sometimes. And I didn't blame her at that time when she got remarried so soon, with my stepdad, because like we're all ingrained and programmed a certain way. And in the Filipino culture, it's like you have to be with a partner in order to survive. Like, do you get what I mean? Like that was what's ingrained in us. Like both of my grandparents from my mum and dad's side, they pretty much were both housewives, and the husbands were the breadwinners, so they don't know how to survive on their own. Do you get what I mean? And I think that that's what pushed me to kind of want to make my own money at a very young age on my own, because I told myself I never want to live off a man. I never want to be in that position where I'm at the mercy of someone else.
Okay, so then you end up getting married, right? So kind of what
No,
was
yeah.
like how old were you? Because you were married young though, right? You got
Yeah,
married pretty
no,
young.
backtrack before getting married. I was literally like every parent's worst nightmare of everything that a teenager could go through. That happened to me. So I got pregnant when I was 15. So my son, he's turning 18 next month. I have a full grown 6-foot son. That's like a fully grown human being. So, but yeah, but for me at that time, because I guess I came from a broken family, I wanted to make my own family. I always knew, and maybe it's the Cancerian in me. I'm a Cancer stellium, so in astrology world, that means like I'm a pure Cancer. And Cancers are very homebody. They value family a lot. That's the core of, and they're the mother of all mothers. That's the core of my identity. And at a young age, I always wanted to be a mother. Like I used to watch movies of like teen moms and stuff, and I was like, I want to be a teen mom. I want to have a baby that's gonna love me unconditionally. That was like my dream, was to be a mother. And I would say that being a teen mom, it was not, I wouldn't say it was premeditated, but even at that age, even though I didn't know about the law of attraction and manifesting, I kind of manifested it into existence. Like I just kept on telling myself, I want to have a baby. And at that time, my first boyfriend, I was like, we used to always joke around. And I'm like, I'm going to have your baby. And he's like, you're crazy. And it happened. So, but yeah, it was like the most amazing thing for me. And it really helped me grow up at a young age. My mom actually, and my parents, they were not surprised when I got pregnant. And actually, I know the most ironic thing is, as a parent yourself, I know you've got teenagers too, Daniel, like the last thing that you would want is your kids getting pregnant at a young age. But for my parents, they just thought, wow, this girl, she's just done everything under the sun. Like what else could possibly happen? And they kind of had just given up on me. I've been expelled by the time I was 15. I'd been expelled from 3 private schools. No schools would want to accept me anymore because I was just a juvenile delinquent, and I was like brainwashing all their children, all the kids in high school to be entrepreneurs and just hustle and sell stuff. And we were selling like stolen phones at school and stuff like that. Yeah, so when I did get pregnant, my mom's like, well, I think you need to keep it so you can settle down. And she loved my boyfriend. She thought because once I was with my boyfriend, I wasn't out gallivanting and, like on the streets and hustling and doing crazy stuff. I was at home watching, at that time, we still had videos. We had Blockbuster. We didn't have Netflix. So what's equivalent to Netflix and chill, me and my boyfriend used to do that every weekend. And my mom's like, well, this is good. She's not out, like doing stupid stuff. She's just at home watching videos with her boyfriend.
So did you go into business and then get married, or did you get married pretty soon
Yeah, so
after?
yes. Yeah, so I actually officially was never married. We were engaged, and it was, I would say, it was the longest bloody engagement in history. It was for 12 years. So pretty much after we had like after I had my son, he was about like one and a bit. We had a big engagement party because it was kind of just expected, like my dad, as I said, my dad comes from a devout Catholic family. All of my dad's brothers and sisters, they all got married young in their teens. It kind of, from my dad's side, they value family, but my mum's side, they value academics. So in my dad's side, it kind of was like an entry level thing. Like it was a normal thing to get married in your teens or get engaged or have babies early. Like my dad was 22 when he had me. So, it was kind of normal, and like my dad just pretty much, he didn't put pressure on me, but he just said enough, like if you have a baby, like it's just expected that you guys get married. But I just said, I was too young at the time, and I said, look, I want to finish school, I want to finish uni. Like now that I have a kid, I don't want to kind of just be rushing into getting married. But essentially we were pretty much married, so we got engaged. We had a beautiful engagement party. There was about 200 odd people there. So it was pretty much the same as like what a wedding would be, you know. But yeah, after that it was like really amazing because I feel like there was no real pressure on us, but because we were so in love, we manifested this whole amazing life together in such a short amount of time. So, and at that time, like I feel like ignorance really is bliss sometimes, because when you don't know any better and you haven't been tainted by the real world, you just manifest things, so when we got engaged, I said to my partner, I said, look, I want to get a house. And we were like 19. He's like, just shut up, like you want to get a house, we live in the ghetto, but at that time, that was at the height of the GFC. And because my mom comes from a banking world, I was exposed to a lot of this stuff at a very early age: investing, how to get loans out and stuff like that. My mom worked in mortgage services, you know um so I kind of knew the whole shebang, and I was like, well, it's not really too hard to get a loan. It's not too hard to get a loan if you've got a 9 to 5 job, you got like income coming in, you got a few pay slips. And at that time, my ex-partner, he was an athlete, so he was a football player, but his dad had a construction company, so they were making pretty good coin. They had like in fit out company. So, I just told him, look, just get some bank statements from your dad, pay slips, just, all the stuff. Because I was working in the bank, I was working in CBA. That was my very first job. Because my mum got it for me. So I was working in the biggest bank in Australia. I was working in mortgage services, handing out loans. So I just was like, look, we'll get a loan out. It's easy. Just give me your pay slips and stuff. And we literally got approved for a $500,000 house when we were 19. And everyone was like, what the hell? This girl was partying and living in the ghetto. And it's funny because when I used to party with my friends, I would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to go finish uni. And they're like, this girl's nuts. First of
Isn't
all,
that so cool? I mean, isn't that so cool though, that just all through your life, you're just manifesting it. You're just
manifesting.
thinking about it. You're
Yeah.
visualizing it.
Yes.
You're telling the world what you're
What
going
you're
to do.
going to do.
And
Yeah.
isn't that kind of interesting though, that there's a lot of people that say, don't tell people what you're going to do.
Yeah, but
Why do they say that?
because they're scared, because this is why I got really into energy science, right? Because they're scared of external voices tainting your vision. But if you have a strong mindset and you have strong will, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If that happened to me, do you know all of my teachers used to say to my mom, you should just give up on her. My mom gave up my university, she had a fund for me for university, and she just gave it up because she just thought I was just going to amount to nothing. If I had a weak mindset, I would allow all of those external sources that told me I could not do what I did. I would let that get to me, and I would have been living on welfare and been a statistic. I would have been a teen mom living on welfare and part of the system and not amounting to nothing. Not that I'm saying, that there's anything wrong with that. It's a mindset thing. right? But as soon as I got pregnant with my son, I said, right, I have another human being that I'm going to have to take care of. So I've got to get my shit together. I don't really give a at a very young age, I was already, I was very rebellious against the system. I hated the system. I hated school. I refuted everything unless it was my own belief. Like I used to go to religion classes. I'm like, why, like, where did Jesus come from? Why is this? I was always questioning, and the teachers used to get annoyed with me. But I feel like if you really want to make it in this world, you have to have a level of mindset that you need to question everything, right? You can't just accept things for what it is, because if you do, you're just going to be molded by your environment. You're not going to be able to create your reality. You're going to be shaped by your environment. And that's hard.
Now I know why we kind of get along here, because
Yeah.
I'm the same. I've always had, like, I was always questioning things. Teachers would always get upset with me. They'd always say, it's because we say that, why do I need to use, like, why do I need to learn this math here? Why do I need to learn this math? I'm never going to use it for the rest of my life. There's calculators available. This is a total waste of time. Why don't you teach me something like money or finance or something that's going to help me have a better life, versus teaching me shit that never is going to help me, right?
Exactly right. And I think, like, with people like us, when you're it's kind of the David and Goliath kind of analogy, right? It's like you're challenging giants. And even in corporate, I've experienced this. Like, you challenge the status quo and you ruffle feathers and they freak out. And then you become like the enemy. But that serves you well, because if you can do that, you can, it's a big bad world out there, and a lot of people, they don't make it in corporate, they don't make it in life, because they're constantly absorbing content and information from other people without critically analyzing where it's coming from, and they accept it, and that becomes their reality because they absorb that as a belief and a value.
Well, kind of like, Kasey, kind of like this whole pandemic. I mean, let's be honest here, right? Let's be honest here. I mean, there was a 99.97 or something like that survival rate, but they locked down almost the entire world for something that was actually less deadly than the flu.
Exactly. And, and this is, I'm with you on that.
No critical thinking.
No, none. And they just accept it for what it is. And the funny thing is, right, like with the likes of the flu and, all of like these things that threaten your immune system, if people know, like for me, it's different because I come from a hard science background. So in university, you get trained to critically analyze everything, especially in a psychology degree, right? You question everything, especially philosophy and stuff. But what I was always like just so baffled about is everyone's like going crazy about this pandemic. But if you have a strong immune system and, you're taking care of your body, you're exercising every day, that's building up your immunity. And you know what? I can't even say, like, I don't even know the last time I got sick, because you're taking care of your body and your mind and you're building up your immunity. And even if you were to get the flu, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent because I always talk about this. Even if you were to get this COVID, whatever it is, if you have a strong immune system, you can fight it. If you drink green juice every day, I can guarantee you can fight cancer, right? It's a mindset thing. And a lot of the people that have become sick from this, I wouldn't say it's a placebo effect, and I'm not saying it's like a phantom like flu, but I think it's been exacerbated to the point where it's like, okay, well, our bodies are regenerating all the time, right? If you have a healthy diet, if you're taking care of yourself, you're meditating, you're exercising and stuff, you're building up the immunity for your body, it's going to bounce back. We regenerate. We're regenerating machines.
So and I'm not a doctor, but what I do know is that a lot of people that passed because of quote unquote that disease, right? Or the virus, right? The challenge is that only about 6% of people that passed it was purely because of that. A lot of people passed away because there were
mental illness.
There were other things. There were other issues, or they were 400 pounds, right? I mean, if you get COVID and you're 400 pounds, you're probably going to have some problems. But the same
Exactly.
goes true 2 years ago when there were the flu, when we just had a regular flu and the guy was 400 pounds, he probably passed away from the
Yeah.
flu.
Yeah,
So, but why
exactly.
lock down the whole world based on situations where, look, if I'm 400 pounds and I have a weak immune system and I'm having challenges, then yes, wear a mask all day,
Mhm.
stay in your house, stay locked in, right? Stay locked. Because think about it. You just mentioned this a couple of seconds ago that it's about immunity and it's about keeping your
Yeah.
immunity well. But guess what? If you
Yeah.
lock me in my house, if you lock me in my
Yeah.
house and I can't exercise and I can't go out and meet
You
people and I
It's
am not
yeah.
building up my immune system, I'm
Yeah.
screwed.
Exactly. You know what? It's funny you say that, Daniel, because I even said this and I go on tangents on, I'm pretty sure I got shadow banned on Instagram, but that don't stop me from putting out my 2 cents out there, right? But to be very honest with you, a lot of people, and I actually had an argument with some German guy on my on my social media about this. I said I made a post and then I said more people will die from psychological distress rather than the pandemic itself. This is a spiritual war. This is breaking down your livelihood. Do you get what I mean? Like what breaks down your livelihood? If you are entrapped, it's no different to people being in a jail cell. And probably out of 10% of the people that are like confined will make it out alive, right? Because you have to have a strong mindset. Other people, they're not used to not being not socializing, like they don't know who they are on their own. And especially like I know I was speaking to some of my partners at work, and some of them said that they got into a COVID relationship and it became super toxic because they're scared to be alone. Do you get what I mean? And then what ends up happening? You end up trying to kill each other because you're confined in one space.
Well,
Do you get what I
there
mean?
were, at least in the United States, I don't know about Australia, which I would imagine it's very similar, but do you realize that there were more suicides? Like
Mm.
suicide
Yes,
rate was up,
exactly.
alcoholism was up. I mean, all kinds of stuff
Yes,
was
domestic
created.
violence.
Domestic
Yes,
violence was up.
yes,
Child molestation was up. I mean, all of these
exactly.
things, you got to be kidding me. And you
Yeah,
keep shutting, and you guys just got shut down. It's
yeah,
June, the end of June 2021 right now, and you guys just got shut down a few weeks ago. Like, you got to be
yeah.
kidding me. It's
Well, we
long
haven't.
enough.
Yeah, like we literally have not. So in comparison to America, Australia's been on a travel ban this whole time. And me, like we've already spoken, I'm an affluent traveler. Like I was never in Australia. And like this was a whole kind of different dynamic for me. But it's really also a lot of people did not have the mental resilience to last through the pandemic. A lot of people lost their jobs and stuff like that, and they kind of get into what's in psychology we call it learned helplessness, because they just don't know any better. But what's funny, a lot of big businesses were created at the height of the pandemic. I created two of my businesses last year during the pandemic. One is like a virtual recruitment firm online, it's helping, and with VAs and stuff like that. And there's a lot of Airbnb, Uber, and all of that stuff that was created at the height of the GFC. Do you get what I mean? But because like people, I feel like people, they get fed all of this crap on media, on the news, and they get instilled with a lot of fear and have this scarcity mindset, and oh my god, like I don't know what to do, and it's really like tainted a lot of people's livelihoods. Do you get what I mean? And like you said, like this pandemic, it's really been more of an effect of like mental health more than anything, rather than the actual virus itself, you know?
No,
Um,
I completely agree. And that's actually, I mean, believe it or not, that's one of the best exchanges that I've had so far about the whole subject. Because I mean, and again, I just have always been a little bit rogue because I do
yeah,
question things. If you tell me to wear a
definitely.
mask, if you tell
Yeah,
me to wear a mask because it's going to save my
yeah,
life, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
no,
Like, but
yeah,
I know the symptoms. I know when I'm sick. I know when I'm not feeling well. And of
yeah,
course, I'm not going to put somebody else's life in danger. But if I knew that the
Mm-hmm.
mask was going to protect my community and protect me and protect, everybody that I love, I would do it in a heartbeat. The problem
Yeah.
is that we know that it was a worthless napkin over your
Yeah.
face that was just trying to control me and to
Yes.
instill fear in me.
Fear.
I'm just
Yeah.
not
And
okay with
obedience.
that. That's
Exactly.
obedience. That's the word
It's
right there.
obedience. It's a sign of obedience. And you know what? Like on a psychological level, it's habituation as well. Like if you get people into the habit of doing that. Okay, in psychology, they say, like, have you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of psychological, like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like needs? So
Yep.
one of the main foundations is with hygiene, right? Like, so that obviously, like, if we're not hygienic, and like our health isn't intact, that's going to threaten our livelihood, that's going to threaten humanity, that's going to threaten you as a person, because on a fundamental basic human needs level, you need that in order to survive. And so putting the mask on us, to be honest, like wearing a mask that has a cheetah print on it, how the hell is that going to freaking save you from from a virus that escaped a lab in China? Do you get what I mean?
And
Like,
made it
it's
around the world,
ludicrous.
right?
Yeah, like, but people don't think about that. But because they've been threatened because of their basic fundamental need, human needs, they obey. Do you get what I mean? And I just think that's stupid. Like, I don't wear a mask anywhere. I don't. And it's not because I'm being irresponsible, but maybe it's my rebellious nature, like like for me, I'm a rebel at heart. Like, I always question authority. But the thing is, if there was a logic to it, like if it was like, if there like if there was something in the mask that helps you like breathe better or something, it's a fashion statement. It's a freaking piece of cloth with a cheetah print on it or whatever it is. Do you get what I mean? Like,
I
it's just,
love it. I love it. I love it.
yeah,
All right. So, what I want, look, you made 100,000 AUD this month. Okay,
yeah.
you're killing it in your business. You're killing. You've had record couple of years, and so proud of you. So excited, to see people do that and come out of this thing with with a fight and
Right.
with excitement and with passion. And so you're a corporate headhunter. What how'd you get into that? I know that your mom kind of helped you a little bit, or how did that
Yeah,
happen, and why do you love that business?
so for me, I always wanted, this is why I did psychology, and this is even why I do psychic mediumship. I am driven by my fundamental core purpose, and my mission in this life is to help people to elevate to their fullest potential, whether it's in business or their personal life. And being a headhunter allows you to do that, because for me, I've developed people from entry level, from when they just leave uni, and I've coached them into management roles. I've just recently placed like 2 execs in one of them is the GM of ops for the biggest broker firm in Australia. So these are the kinds of people that I'm like coaching and developing. But for me, it's all about helping people reach the pinnacle of their potential, essentially, so that they can like live a very full life. Because for me, I just don't believe, and this is why I really resonate with your content when we connected. I mean, like for me on social media, I have a different persona, right? People don't really know my business acumen. I kind of keep that hidden. But in Australia, I do have a very affluent like brand. People know me. But the reason why I attracted and gravitated towards your content, and I feel like why we connected, is because essentially we're helping people gain freedom in life and have a level of satisfaction in not just doing a 9 to 5, but actually thriving. Like, do something that you love, do something with purpose, do something with passion. And for me, when I had like in my headhunting game, I feel like at a very early age, it stems from my own desire, burning desire to really solidify like what my purpose was in this life and what I'm meant to be doing. And I was very torn about that, because I know this sounds really stupid and cliche, but I was good at a lot of things. But when you're good at a lot of things and you're jack of all trades and expert at none, you don't really fulfill anything. Do you get what I mean? And so for
Totally.
me, Yeah, so for me, like coming into the headhunting game, so what I do is I recruit executives and professionals in high level corporate spaces, executives, investment bankers, corporate institutional bankers, lenders and stuff like that. Like people like pretty much at the top of the food chain. But what I do with them is I coach them and I teach them. I tell them, look, if you're going to go into this, it's got to be what you love, right? For me, I think the reason why, for me, I do this because I love this, not because I have to make a paycheck, right? And I only found this passion when I lost everything and I went broke after my divorce, after my separation. I lost all my assets. I lost everything. I had 2 kids, 2 mouths to feed. I actually lost my children at one time because I could not afford to keep them. And in that time that I was by myself, I really asked myself, what are you meant to be doing? Like I was questioning myself every day, like what fulfills me? Because it's definitely not 9 to 5. It's definitely not grinding and pounding the pavement to make corporations rich, right? For me, my passion was helping people come into their power and knowing themselves and finding like a career that aligns with their own values and mission and stuff. And I feel like that's when you get the most satisfaction. And that's when money comes. You know, money's not going to come if you're forcing yourself to wake up and you're miserable and you hate your life and you hate your job. So for me, every single person that I put into their roles, I not only get them like a pretty healthy pay packet, right? But I also push them into like I give them options. So a lot like with one of my execs yesterday, for example, I had a chat with him. You know, I put him forward to like 4 or 5 different like broker firms and major banks. And I said, I'm not just gonna put you in one place and just shove you there, you know, because in headhunting, it can be like that. You know, there's some cowboys out there that'll place you in a role just because they want the $20,000 fee and they don't really care about like this is someone's life. This is how they're gonna be feeding their family. So you have a responsibility because this is how they're putting food on the table. And if they're miserable and they're not aligning in the culture, if their values don't align with the values of the business that you're putting them in, it's not going to work. And I feel like for me, I have an ethical responsibility in the people and the talents that I represent in giving them satisfaction in their life, because it's not just for them, it's for their family. And ultimately, if they're happy in their job and they're happy in what they're doing, it's not really job, right? And that's what I love about your content. It's like, it's about like it's about doing things with purpose and passion and making money out of it
I
and
love it. I
monetizing
love
it.
it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wow. This is so cool. I don't know. This might be my longest podcast ever because this was
Oh
so
my God.
interesting and this was so much fun, and I learned so much, and it was just so much. What a deep dive we kind of went on everything, and I really do appreciate all the way from Australia on your birthday. Really appreciate you coming and hanging with me today. I want to know because some of my audience, they're going to want to get in touch with you. They're going to want to get to know you. They're going to want to DM you, whatever. And also, you have a book of
Oh yes,
poetry, a book of
yes,
poetry. So
yes.
tell us about how to get that, and then tell us how to connect with you in whatever platform is best.
Yeah, so you guys can definitely find me. My Instagram handle is Kasey.Phoenix. A lot of my clients are there. For my corporate or business clients, or like if you want any coaching or career guidance and counseling, you can find me on LinkedIn. Kasey, Kasey, Kasal. So I'm pretty heavy in the LinkedIn platform. So I would say those are my 2 main platforms. With my book, it's officially been exactly a year since I've released it. So that book is about it's a book on the tarot, and every day I would pull out one card, and it would help me on my journey back to self-love. And it's about healing yourself and finding your passion and your purpose through adversity. So you can find that on any major bookstore platform, also on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all of the major bookstores. It's called Elevate, Book of Psalms. So yeah, it's an ode to elevating in consciousness and reaching your full potential. So
Good
yeah.
stuff. Good stuff. This was so much fun, Kasey. Thank you again for being on Wealth on the Beach podcast, and we do appreciate you. Hey, everybody, make sure you go follow Kasey. Like all of her stuff, get her book, and start elevating your consciousness. And really start getting into finding what your passion is, whatever that is. I don't know what that is, but whatever makes you happy, whatever gets you juiced for life, go after it. Find that, and then do that, and then make that your life's work. My life changed in a huge way when I found one thing and I made it my life's work. And I'll be forever grateful that I decided and I made those choices. But with that said, thank you so much for hanging with us today. Make sure that you continue to dream bigger, get after it, of course, and most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.